Hey everyone, today we have a pretty sweet top 10 list for you. We're going to count down the top 10 most played cards in all of Commander. Now there's a little twist here. By most played, we mean how popular cards are relative to the number of decks they could be in. For instance, Explosive Vegetation can be in any deck running green. And if we take a look at the numbers, we see that it's in 20.5% of all decks running green in Commander. This video is about popularity within color identity. Which cards are the most popular in their colors? I'm about to answer those questions for you. If you want to know where we got this data, the team over at EDHrec.com helped us put it all together. In case you didn't know, EDHrec.com is the place to go for Commander deck lists, as they have aggregated thousands and thousands of them from all over the internet. So everything I'm about to tell you comes from cold hard data. Hope you enjoy the video, and if you do, remember to hit that like button, helps out a lot. As always, we'll begin with number 10, Supreme Verdict. That's right. The blue-white uncounterable Wrath spell is actually in 33.3% of all possible decks. Now remember, this doesn't just include only blue-white two-color decks. It includes all decks that have both white and blue in them. When you take that into consideration, 33% is an impressive feat. 1 out of every 3 players who play a deck with blue and white wants Supreme Verdict. Can't imagine how many times this has been used on you and your friends by now. Whether it's in Aloro, Grand Arbiter Augustin, Breya, Sidri, and more, by percentage of possible deck inclusion, Supreme Verdict is the Wrath spell of choice. That's very cool. Coming in at number 9 is Putrefy. The Golgari artifact / creature kill spell is in 34.2% of all possible strategies, and that's downright impressive. And just so you know, it isn't solely because of Commander 2016 pre-con deck inclusion. Putrefy has been near the top most searched and played cards for years now. Even before Commander 2015, there are always cards that you just auto-include, and in most decks running both black and green, an artifact or creature kill spell is just flexible enough at instant speed to do some real damage. We talk about homogenization in Commander sometimes, and Putrefy may be an example of it. More than 1 in 3 players who play a black-green deck run the thing. I guess you'd need a good reason not to, right? It's pretty interesting. Number 8 is Demonic Tutor. I'm honestly surprised this wasn't higher up on the list, with players including it at a rate of 35.1% in available black decks. Of course, being mono-black means it can fit into literally any black deck, but still, Commander is often a game where tutors are coveted. I have to think that this would be higher if Demonic Tutor were cheaper, but in the last few years we've seen the Premier Tutor rise in price pretty steadily, flying out of most players' price range. Even with that though, 35% deck inclusion is an impressive number, with EDHrec posting the Tutor's inclusion in over 20,000 unique strategies. From Atraxa to Marin to Leovold to Sharum, any black deck would be lucky to have a Demonic Tutor. It's like a cheat code in Commander. Entering at number 7 is Kodama's Reach. This I did not expect, mainly because I've seen this card so many times I forgot about it. The Reach is posting an absurd 35.6% inclusion rate among green decks in the format. Again, long before Commander 2016 or 2015 forced their way in. Given that the Reach basically handholds you to perfect mana, you have to imagine it's going to be in a lot of green decks, especially multicolored ones. Granted auto-inclusion in Omnath Locus of Rage, Maelstrom Wander, Xenagos, Rico of Two Reflections, and a host of other green commanders, the Reach has nestled its way into being a solid Commander staple. And while it has been printed 5 times now, it's still over $1 each for a common exclusive to Commander. That's how you know you have something special. It's interesting stuff. Number 6 is Counterspell, good old-fashioned Counterspell. In available decks, Counterspell is sporting a 36.9% inclusion rate, proving that old and reliable never goes out of style. Owing much of its inclusion rate success to the likes of Aloro, Talrand, and Nekasar, Counterspell is the staple piece of counter magic in the entire format, with nothing else even coming close. Really, I'm not joking. Nothing even comes anywhere near Counterspell's inclusion rate. I find that fascinating. When you go to build your next blue deck in Commander, give a nod to Counterspell. Must be a reason it's in over 21,000 unique decks, right? Breaking into our top 5 is Cultivate. I know, another ramp / fixing spell. Talk about a sign. It's pretty clear that green is still best at what it's always been best at, getting perfect mana. And it's no secret that Cultivate is the creme de la creme of ramp spells, always among the most searched for cards in the format. With an inclusion rate of 37.4%, it's hard to ignore the power. Much like Kodama's Reach, it solves all of your color problems for you, and it isn't even arcane. Kodama's Reach has to start being in more decks. Come on already, it's weird. Anyways, if you look at the numbers, decks that include Cultivate are very likely to include the Reach as well. There is a 2% inclusion difference between them, which does translate to around 1,000 recorded deck lists. I'm sure the Reach will get there eventually. Only 4 cards left to go. Eternal Witness grabs our next spot, and with it a huge bump in inclusion rate. The Witness is in a whopping 45% of all available deck lists, and is the most common green staple in possible strategies. It's surprising, green has the most auto-included cards in the format. Between this, Cultivate, the Reach, and Putrefy, there's less green movement than I thought. Anywho, the Witness needs no real explanation. Solid recursion with a body to boot, easy to trigger over and over again. You can put it into anything that has green in it and no one would fault you for it. We're into the obviously ridiculously powerful cards at this point. Top 3, can you guess what's left? If you guess Swords to Plowshares, you'd be right. Coming in at number 3 is the most infamous white removal spell in Commander, and honestly, in the entire game of Magic the Gathering. The inclusion rate on this instant is 46.3%, and I don't think anyone would be surprised to hear that. Swords has always been a powerful card, and I can't think of a single deck that runs white that wouldn't at least consider Swords in it. If you don't play Swords, it's probably because you don't have a copy, or you want to be different, or you have more fun stuff to play. I don't think anyone would argue that Swords doesn't pull its own weight, that's for sure. Top 2, things are getting heated. Believe it or not, Cyclonic Rift takes the number 2 spot. With an absurd inclusion rate of 50.4%, you can confidently tell your friends that over half of all blue decks in the format will have Cyclonic Rift in them. Think about that. That's crazy. That's more than staple status. That's like blue decks start at 98 cards instead of 99. Cyclonic Rift is merely an afterthought for most players at this point. 29,000 strategies recorded on EDH Rec play Cyclonic Rift. No wonder the card is able to retain value. 1 out of every 2 Commander players needs one. That's impressive to say the least. Just think about it. That brings us to number 1, and let's be honest with ourselves, we all kind of knew what this was going to be. Sol Ring. Absolutely, by a large margin, Sol Ring. But the stats are even more bewildering. 76.5% deck inclusion. Let me repeat that. 3 out of every 4 Commander decks have Sol Ring in it. That's way worse than Cyclonic Rift or anything else on this list. If a more oppressive card had this kind of inclusion rate, it would have been banned years ago. I get why people call for Sol Ring to be banned. I get it. In a mind-boggling 90,000 unique strategies on EDH Rec, Sol Ring is the most played card. Hands down, not even close. No other card even touches it. Wow. Imagine if it wasn't in the format, seriously. 76% deck inclusion? My goodness. Ugh. What do you think? Is this list mostly what you expected? Any surprises here? Any cards you expected to see that weren't on the list? I'd love to hear what you're thinking about all of it. Also, do you enjoy these types of videos that take a look at behind-the-scenes data on Commander? If there's a certain topic you'd like us to cover using this type of data, be sure to let me know. The team over at edhrack.com are fantastic to work with, so be sure to check out their website below for all your Commander needs. And again, if you want more videos like these, hit that like button and let me know what you want. This could be a cool little series we got here. As always, thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time. This video is brought to you in part by TCGplayer.com. We looked at some obviously important Commander staples today, and if you need them, TCG Player has your back. If you need Sol Ring, the most popular card in the entire format, you can grab your copy right now for $2.40. Can't argue with that price for the staple of all staples. Already have one? How about Cyclonic Rift? This thing is powerful beyond measure, and the numbers back it up. You can get your copy of Cyclonic Rift right now for $7. Might seem high, but these are the cheapest prices around for the best cards. If you want them, click the links in the video. Helps the channel. Win-win. Enjoy.